Yo, so what is going on, guys? Welcome to today's video. We are doing a full tier list for Rush Royale in the year of 2024. Drop a like in the video if you're new. Subscribe. We are at 100 subscribers. We're getting towards our goal, slowly but surely, so I appreciate it. I know I'm going to get flamed in the comments for some of these placings, but this is what I truly believe, how the game is currently being played, and doesn't mean that if you have a C or B or even F tier unit that it's not good. Just play what you like, all right? Even some C tier units can beat A or S tier units with the right deck, and a skill gap is definitely apparent in this game. But let's get into it. We're going to start at F tier. 3 out of these 4 units do not have a talent tree. They're absolutely just terrible. Demonologist, number 1. You rarely see it. Only time you do see Demonologist is when somebody is trying to be toxic or just got the unit, or even in co-op. I think it's just one of those units that's just kind of there. Stasis is another one of those units. I don't play Stasis at all. Stasis is I think the only time I use Stasis is when I'm in mirror match or when I'm in like one of those events where it makes you play it. But other than that, Stasis is just super useless. Doesn't provide armor break, just slows the units down, doesn't damage them, nothing like that. It's kind of, it does damage them, but it's just abysmal. Shaman, since the most recent nerf to Shaman, and you can literally spam the Shaman all around the board and it's just trash. I have Pocket Curse, and Pocket Curse is the exact same thing as Shaman now, but even then Shaman is just a waste of a unit in my opinion. And then Hex, the absolute, probably one of the worst units in the game. It doesn't give you anything other than an instant kill possibility, which some units give, plus other things as well. Without a talent tree, some of these units are just absolutely useless. Let me know what you guys think about the F tier. Maybe if there needs to be more units in there. Let's move on to C tier. Tesla is going to be one of those units that kind of controversial. It is getting a new rework in the next update. It's all right though. It's been getting buffed recently. I've seen some players hit like well over 30 billion damage with it, but I just think that it ain't it. You know, if you, out of most of the units that you can get from events, wasting your time in mirror match and grinding for Tesla is just not worth it at all. Next on the list, somebody's gonna hate me for this, but this is where Demon Hunter belongs. It is a C tier unit, and it's lucky that I got this high on the C tier. I've been beaten by one Demon Hunter in a long time, and I think it's just because they had Scrapper, Witch. They were using like all the new meta units right now, and I got beat at like 10 billion damage. But you know, I've seen a lot of people use like Zeus or whatever, like a level 15 Zeus with this unit, and it still falls off super fast. It sucks. So if you're new to the game and you're building a Demon Hunter, stop now. It is not worth it, in my opinion. Next on the list, Robot. Damage wise, if you're running a toxic deck, there's something wrong with you. But Robot just sucks. It falls off super fast. Most of the robots that you fight, it's great early in the game when people can't get their units set up and you're not doing like a super long high DPS game. But around 3 bosses, he just falls off real fast DPS wise. Meteor is also going to be one of those units. Meteor used to be at the top of the list. It used to be an A to S tier unit, and for some players it still is. Some people know how to use it. Super good with the unit, massive damage, but since the nerfs, it's completely fallen off for most people, and even in the top like 100, you don't see this deck anywhere near it. So if you're going for contender, I don't think I've versed a Meteor in probably about 4 to 5 seasons. I just haven't seen them in PvP at all. Bruiser's next. I have seen people do really well with this unit or really poorly. I think personally, it's just kind of crap. You can have like a really good setup with it with Night Statue, but it's all right. Like I don't see this anywhere near like a top unit. I feel like it kind of needs a rework, in my opinion. I don't think that it's just a good unit at all. It's just kind of there. Boreas, kind of good unit early on. The speed really helps. A lot of people mid game use like Boreas and Grindstone, but once you're hitting like 6,000 plus trophies, you don't see this unit anywhere near in people's decks at all, unless they have like a full talent tree and they're trying to go like a little bit toxic with slowing your units down and rain of arrows and stuff. But since Jay got nerfed as well, you don't really see this unit doing too well in the current standings of PvP. Excuse me. All right, B tier. Some of these units are on here, and looking at it now, it's just like, yeah, some of them belong in C, but B tier, first things first, Inquisitor. Inquisitor is kind of making a comeback. I have versed more Inquisitors now than I think I ever have, with the armor break meta going through, with people running Scrapper, Knight Statue, Trapper, Chemist. People are doing really, really good with Inquisitor. I am pushing to Contender right now, and I have never seen more people use Dark Inquisitor. It's easily getting good damage with the Knight of Darkness is finally getting some love. Do I think it needs a buff? Not really. I think it's good where it is right now. You just have to build your deck around it. And I've switched off of Inquisitor and gone to Genie, because it's just like I felt like I was stuck with that unit, and I built all my gear around it. Inquisitor's great, but A and S tier, nah, not even close. Next up, Swords. I feel like Swords used to be a lot better. A couple updates ago, I would have put Swords in A tier, maybe even S tier at one point. With the cleanse, with just how good Swords used to be in getting the bonus speed at the tier 13 talent tree. It used to be such a good unit. Once you got 10 buffs, you would get the speed boost, and it used to just destroy. It used to be one of the best support cards in the game, but now it's just kind of there. I have it for the extra critical and the cleanse, but even then, like, the cleanse doesn't feel like it's there half the time. Next up on the list, we have Trapper. Trapper's a great unit. I think with talents, Trapper and HQ, they're going to be probably about A or S tier. Trapper, and I think Harlequin's next for talents in the next update. And then after that, I'm seeing Trapper or Stasis getting talents. Let me know what you guys think. What deserves talents? What's next in your mind? But I think that these two units are very solid B tier units. But in the next couple updates, I have saved copies for both of them, and they're both almost to 15. But I think in the near future they will rise to the top, because Trapper's kind of insane with it's slowing everything and giving an armor break. Putting talents on that guy is just going to be absolutely nutty for most decks. Like, I couldn't even imagine it in like a Dark Inquisitor deck. Would be crazy. Same for HQ. Harlequin's great, but with no talents, it's just kind of there in the middle. It's not a crap unit. You can copy units and paired with Dryad or Scrapper. It's a great unit. Clock's one of those units that I'm kind of iffy about. Not gonna lie. You don't really see too many Clocks unless people are trying to be toxic. It's not really like a high end, at least in the current meta. I don't think it's like a high end unit to use. It's good. I wouldn't say it's great. Mid B tier seems about right, maybe a little bit lower, but Frost is also one of those units. And Sea Dog. If you're not running a toxic deck, and you need, for a lot of these units, you need a completely decked out deck, really. You need to make sure that you have everything you need for these units to work, especially really, really well in PvP. Like, if you don't have Frost and Minotaur and everything like Meteor and Necromancer, then the deck's really not going to work. It's not going to take you super far. They're very solid units. They have really, really good talent trees, but long term, if you do not have the correct deck, they are okay units. If you are a new viewer and you're new to the game, don't think that you can just run Frost and get it as your main DPS unit. It's a good support unit. That's why it's in B tier. We're going to skip over Sea Dog. Sea Dog's kind of, Sea Dog's about the same as Frost. Corsair is one of those units that's been getting a lot of love for a lot of people. I've seen a couple people use that as their main DPS unit. It does really good damage if you get it to a higher level and you have the correct support for it. I couldn't imagine where this unit is going to get when it gets talents. I can easily see it being S tier for sure. Corsair is one of those units that people have been waiting for a long time. Minotaur at the end of B tier. Why? It's also one of those units that you have to grind out for an event for, but you can't really use it as your main DPS. You have to throw it in like a Meteor Frost deck, which isn't bad. Minotaur has definitely messed me up when I used to run Inquisitor a lot. It's a good unit. It's not a bad unit. It just takes a little bit to grind for. All right, we're going to get into the A tier unit now. A tier units are some of those units that if you don't have a top meta unit, these decks basically run the entire game. I'd say that even Inquisitors at some point in A unit, but we're going to leave it in B tier. Top of the list, Witch for sure. Witch's bonuses, its support, its damage that it gives all your units, and the versatility that that talent tree has on both sides is just amazing. I think it's not game breaking. It's not the most meta unit, but I think it, out of all the talents that every single unit in the game has, Witch has such a good talent tree, and you can use either or for a toxic or a DPS build. Witch is a great unit to get up there. Summoner is also one of those units that if I could tie A tier for #1 spot, Summoner would also probably be tied with Witch, but Summoner is just amazing for mana, for slowing down your enemies, for getting the multi-summons, for getting enhanced summons. Summoner is, right now, I think once HQ gets talents, I think Summoner and HQ will be about the exact same. But man, it is a good support unit. Summoner and Dryad, Summoner and HQ. You are filling up your entire board. You can swap out your entire board. You rotate it all. Even at the lower levels of like getting it level 9 is just, it's such a solid unit to get up there. Next up, Cultist. See, I don't really believe that Cultist is better than Monk, but you know, it's got such a good talent tree. I think is why it's like insanely good. Definitely an A tier unit. Having the once you get your entire board set up, having the cleanse and the mana and the late game damage scaling, the unit carries for sure. It should not go as far as it does. It definitely needs a nerf. Excuse me. I can't remember the last time this unit has gotten an actual nerf. It's crazy good. With the proper setup, you can run into some. Recently, I've been running into a lot of cultists, and they've been crap. But this unit definitely is a very solid A tier unit. You definitely see this in the late game. 7,000 or 6,000 plus trophies. You see a lot of cultists. You also same thing with Monk. Monk and Cultist are about tied for me. Monk is crazy good with the right support units, with Dryad, with even Scrapper and Swords. You're obliterating most bosses in the game, especially late game. Easily could take you to like 10 to 30 billion damage. Monk is a great solid unit. You get a full board. Monk is one of those. Especially if you're starting out early in the game, that's definitely one of the units to build up. Once you get like a feel for it and you get Summoner going and you get Swords going, Monk is one of those great units. If it hasn't been nerfed so many times, with the shield being gone and the duration for the ability, and I think Monk at one point was such a great S tier unit, and it was scary to verse a Monk, but it's sitting pretty good in A. I don't think it's going to get nerfed for a while, and if it does, it's so minor. Blade Dancer is next. Blade Dancer is so good. If you are a newer player to the game and you are looking for a unit that you want to use in tournaments or clan wars, Blade Dancer is the way to go. Blade Dancer has such a good, versatile talent tree where you can absolutely decimate clan wars. Clan wars is super good for this unit. Curse Day or no crit or no mana, like this unit just destroys. It is so good for tournaments. Super solid. Once you get it to level 15 and you have Knight Statue built up as well, That unit, when I was an Inquisitor player, I hated versing Blade Dancers because they would always just kick my ass. Blade Dancer, super, super good. Next up, Night Statue. Night Statue is just one of those units that I didn't want to believe it at first, but since it's gotten talents, it is a solid support unit. With the armor break, with just how you can change it from the spears to buff your entire board, or just have a static setup with Blade Dancer or anything like that. Night Statue has just been super solid. I think it just got a nerf. Yeah, it did. It did just get a nerf in the recent update, but it is still, you see Night Statue in almost every single Inquisitor deck, Spirit Master deck, Riding Hood deck, and you just see it everywhere. In Blade Dancer, you see it in all the, I said Blade Dancer, Inquisitor, Spirit Master, Riding Hood. Yes. You see it in every single deck. If you don't see a Night Statue, and you see swords, you know it's going to be like a GG, but Night Statue is one of those units that is super solid. Banshee. I have personally never built up Banshee. I have been slapped around by Banshee, though. Some Banshee players, once you get her leveled up, don't know if it's her or not, but if you get the unit built up and you get it to 15, you max out talents, Banshee goes crazy. It is a great support damage unit. People use it for both, and it just goes crazy. I think it's definitely one of those underrated A tier units for sure. S tier. This is just for the current meta. S tier units, easily Spirit Master's #1. It just got a nerf, and right now I still see way more people using Spirit Master than Riding Hood. Spirit Master is just the scaling that it has with all the support and all the armor break that it gives in those decks that it has. I always burp when I have videos. I don't know why. I never burp when I'm like sitting here, but when I do videos and talk, I always have to burp. But Spirit Master at easily #1 spot. Easy. If I'm versing a Spirit Master, even if it's level 13, I know that the game is going to be super difficult and it's going to go in the multi-billions of damage at level 13, which is crazy. Next up, RH. Riding Hood is super solid. You can easily, that unit does not fall off until about 5 to 7 billion damage, and even then it just starts to slow down, but it doesn't fall off, and it's going to get nerfed probably in the future, very minuscule, I think, because I don't think it's absolutely broken like Spirit Master is, but it is a very solid unit. If you are building a Riding Hood deck, I highly suggest you keep going. It's just a super solid unit. I like using it once in a while. It's not my favorite legendary in the game, but it is a very solid S tier unit. Next up, personal favorite. If I could put this at #1 and say fuck it to the video, this unit would be at the top of my list. Genie is so fun to use. Like I said earlier, I was a Inquisitor player, and I went back and redid my gear. I redid everything. I leveled up a hero from 7 to 15, and yeah, I love Genie. Genie is super good for the early game. If you have Genie in the early game, like you're a couple thousand crit maybe, Genie is such a solid unit. It is so user-friendly in the beginning. It does so much damage. It is so easy to figure out and how to play it. And oh my god, even in the late game, like I said, I'm pushing contender, and it is so fun to use with the cleanse, the fist of magic, or whatever the fist is. It's I'm gonna look so stupid in the video, but it is just so good. Doing like 12 million damage to a boss over and over is just super satisfying. Getting a full board and getting it buffed is crazy good. If you are new to the game and you are looking for a damage unit that is user friendly, and you don't need to build an entire deck, and you have certain units but you don't have them all, Genie is the way to go, in my opinion. There's so many different ways you can play Genie, and there's no like set way, and I think that's probably the most fun unit in the game right now, because you could have Witch, you can have Summoner, you could run Toxic, I've seen so many people do so many different things with Genie, and I think that's what makes it fun. Next up, Scrapper. Scrapper with a new update is just, I don't think personally that it's above Dryad, but some other people do, and I'm just going to put it there. With the talents that it's gotten, with the armor break and the mana and being able to eat each other and getting a guaranteed scrapper and being able to mana upgrade it, it's pretty solid. In most, I'd say in most S tier decks, you see a scrapper leveled up to 15 or getting close to 15, at least 13 to 15. It's a very solid unit. You can use it at any point of the game too. I think that's what makes it really, really good. Yeah, it doesn't pair well with Dryad. I think that's a good update. I think I like that because a lot of people kind of abused upgrading their units early on, and then later on Scrapper going to just get every unit to 6 and 7. But Scrapper is definitely an S tier unit right now. One of the best support units in the game. But super early on, if you're like a super, super beginner, it's not one of those units that you like need to have. It won't make or break your deck. It's very helpful, but I don't think it's like absolutely necessary to the game. No, last S tier unit, Dryad for sure. You can get a level 3 unit to level 7 instantaneously if you have golden Dryads and you have Dryad maxed out. You get cleanse, you can debuff your enemy, you can buff yourself and give yourself crit. Dryad is easily one of the best support units in the game, if not, in my opinion, the best. Dryad is just super, super necessary for most decks. If you don't have Dryad, you want Dryad, and you know you want Dryad. It is just one of those units that, yes, it did get a nerf in the recent update, but it is super, super solid. From start to finish of the game, you see this unit in, say, about 90% of decks. So let me know what you guys think. If you were to rearrange the tier list, where would you put a unit? Maybe I forgot to say something, or you know, just give me your opinions. Let me know what you think. If you haven't and you got all the way to the end, you clearly liked the video. So drop a like in the video, subscribe, get me to like 200 subscribers or whatever. Share it with your grandma, have your cat watch the video maybe. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'm out.